Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Haley with Haley Stitches, and today I'm going to show you how to make 20 different quilt layouts using just 2 charm packs. First, we'll make our half square triangles using the 2 at a time method, and then we'll play around with the shapes and angles to get 20 unique quilts. The half square triangle is a super simple but versatile block, and the options are almost endless for the quilt layouts using just this one block. All of the quilts in today's video will be using 80 half square triangles. You can download a cheat sheet of all the different quilt layouts from this video using the link in the description below. All you have to do is enter your email address and I'll send the cheat sheet directly to your inbox. If you liked today's video, please give it a thumbs up and remember to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss the next one. Let's get started. I'm going to be using 2 matching charm packs to show you all of these different layout options, but you can be really creative with the charm packs that you choose. You can use 1 pattern charm pack and 1 plain charm pack, or 2 different solid charm packs. I love this Kona charm pack because it has a ton of different colors in the rainbow, so you could get a really fun rainbow effect. I decided to use these 2 matching charm packs because I already had them in my fabric stash, and I'll have all of the fabric and tools I use in today's video linked in the description below. First, I'm going to separate all of the charm squares into 2 piles, 1 light and 1 dark, and then because we only need 80 squares, I took 4 and removed them. I'll save those squares for another project. Now we can start pairing our light squares with our dark squares, and we want to see contrast with these half square triangles, so I wouldn't put these 2 yellow ones together. Instead, I'll choose 2 squares that have nice contrast like these. Now I'll show you how to do the 2 at a time half square triangle method. So you'll take your 2 contrasting squares, and on the back of one of them you'll draw a diagonal line. I usually choose the lighter square because the line shows up better. So take your long ruler, and I'm using a friction pen. It erases with heat and it's great for half square triangles. So after you've drawn your line, you'll place your squares together, right sides together, meaning the pretty side of the fabric will touch the pretty side of the fabric, and you'll sew a 1/4 inch away on either side of this line. You can pin here if you want to make things hold together nicely. And this is what it looks like after it is sewn together. And now we're going to cut along that drawn line, and this will result in 2 identical half square triangles. There are ways to make them 4 or 8 at a time, but because we're using charm packs, the 2 at a time method works best. And now it is time to press our triangles. So I always like to press towards the darker side, meaning you'll press the seam towards the darker fabric. And this is what they look like after they're pressed. Now it is time to trim. I love to use a rotating mat when I'm trimming my half square triangles because then I don't have to move the fabric a bunch of times. It just makes it a little bit faster for me, but it's definitely not necessary. So we are going to trim these down to 4.5 inches. So I'm just using a 4.5 inch ruler to make it easy, and you'll want to make sure that diagonal line on the ruler is lined up with the diagonal line of the half square triangle, and then you'll trim on 2 sides. And next we will rotate everything around and then trim on the other 2 sides. The 4.5 inch square ruler is not necessary. You can use any ruler, but it does make things nice and easy. Another fun ruler you can buy for half square triangles is called a block lock ruler, and that speeds things up as well. Repeat the 2 at a time half square triangle method until you get a total of 80 half square triangles with your charm packs. And now is the fun part where we get to play with the layouts. This first one I'm showing you is half square triangles all oriented the same way. I know my charm packs together, they don't contrast super well on camera, so I included the black and white versions just to make it easy for you. And the free printable includes the black and white versions, so it's super easy to see which way the triangles should go. This next one is just alternating rows, gives a fun effect. I love using half square triangles. I think they are so versatile and you can come up with so many different designs. This next one is the design I used to make my first quilt, and it's just a basic chevron. I did matchstick quilting in the direction of the chevron, and that was quite ambitious for my first project. I don't recommend that. This next design are a bunch of flying geese, and you can also invert this so that the flying geese are dark and the background is light. So there's a lot of different ways you can play on these designs by just inverting the colors. You can also make it super scrappy like I have, or you can orient the colors in a way where it creates an ombre effect, especially if you're using charm packs with a rainbow color palette or a color palette that just uses a couple of colors. You might be wondering what I'm using to hold all these blocks up on the wall. It's just a piece of batting tacked up onto my wall. And this design, I am doing flying geese again, just orienting them in a bunch of different directions. It creates a really fun effect that's really impactful. I like that one a lot in the black and white version. This batting I have up on my wall is called a design wall. You can Google it or YouTube it. A lot of people have set them up in more permanent ways, and it's great if you have the space to leave it up all the time. This next design is a pinwheel design. I think it's so cool how complex this design looks, even though it's just one simple block. I definitely recommend laying out your blocks and taking a photo of the layout before you start sewing. This will help you know if there's any blocks that are turned the wrong way and to make sure the color distribution is right. This hourglass layout is super classic and I love how it looks. You'll notice this next design took me a little bit longer to put together, and this is on 20x speed, so you can imagine how long it took in real life, but for some reason this one was just really hard for me to figure out, and I still think some of them were not the correct direction. So yeah, taking a photo and looking at it from a bird's eye view really will help you when you're laying these out. And maybe if your half square triangles have more contrast, it'll be easier too. The nice thing about taking a photo is that you can refer back to it as you're piecing your quilt together, and a little tip is if you turn it black and white, then you can make sure that the color values are all distributed evenly throughout the quilt top. This simple stripe pattern would look great in an ombre. I would love that in a rainbow fabric. I think it would look so cool. There's a lot of different designs you can make by playing with these lines with the half square triangles. Here's another one I'm about to show you, but you can get really creative if you just keep doing lines and lines. And this one like starts from the middle and radiates out, and that has a fun effect too. That would look great in rainbow. Here's another one that's playing with those lines too. So yeah, you can get really creative if you look at it as the half square triangles creating larger lines in the quilt. I know some people shy away from using half square triangles. I really enjoy making them. I feel like it's a love-hate relationship. You either love it or you hate it. This next design has the half square triangles alternating in columns, which gives it a unique look. I think these simple half square triangle quilts are a great way to use up your extra half square triangles or fabric from your stash. This next design is really similar to the last. It just has a little twist by radiating out from the center. If you want to design your own half square triangle quilt, I recommend just taking out your half square triangles and start rotating them around. You'll be surprised by what you can come up with just by rotating one shape at a time. This design has a unique ribbon effect. I think it would look great with solid colors, or if you're trying to color match a room, just pick a few colors and it would really stand out in that pattern. This next design is one of my all-time favorites. It's a herringbone pattern. I'm hoping to do a full YouTube video tutorial on it and kind of go in depth on directional prints and how that works with half square triangles, so keep an eye out for that in the coming months. These next three designs are all super similar and super simple. These are just point squares using half square triangles. So this is the black and white version, and then the inverted version is very similar. And then this next one, I'm just doing every other, so regular, inverted, and that gives a really cool secondary effect as well. And these next two designs start in the center of the quilt and radiate out and gives a really great effect. So this first one is just a square in the center, and everything radiates from that. And then the next one is a starburst, which gives a really awesome look. And remember, you can download these designs in a 2-page PDF using the link in the description below. If you liked today's video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. See you next time.